Hello, my name is María Lucía. I am a dietitian nutritionist, and today I bring you some of my favorite tips and tricks to reduce sugar consumption. Today we are going to talk about whether the use of artificial sweeteners is correct, how to drink fewer sugary beverages, the importance of fiber, some little recipes, and other tips that you will surely find very valuable. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to receive notifications. What type of sugar am I referring to? Today, I am going to focus on what simple sugars are, specifically on added sugars. What is the difference? Simple sugars include those with a single molecule, also called monosaccharides, such as fructose, glucose, and galactose and disaccharides, which are two molecules of these, such as lactose and maltose. When they are artificially added to foods and beverages, whether by the manufacturer, the cook, or ourselves, they are called added sugars. Therefore, simple sugars can be added sugars or naturally present in foods, such as in honey, syrups, fruit juices, and fruit juice concentrates. Let's remember that eating a whole fruit is never the same as just drinking its fruit juices. Let's go for the first tip. Should we use artificial sweeteners, yes or no? We all know someone who loves to have their coffee with sugar or enjoys their sweet lemonade. It would be a good option to add artificial sweeteners, as recent studies indicate that the consumption of sweeteners does not necessarily increase the preference for sweetness or stimulate energy intake. However, it is true that some artificial sweeteners have been correlated with possible health side effects. I will name a few. Aspartame, which is potentially harmful and has been associated with high blood pressure. The accessory factor K is associated with DNA damage from sucralose and may be a triggering factor for migraines. Saccharin, on the other hand, has been linked to the development of bladder cancer. Another could be, for example, cyclamate, which could affect calcification. Sorbitol should be noted that because it is not properly absorbed in the intestine, it can cause osmotic diarrhea due to excessive consumption. The good news is that there are indeed safe sweeteners on the market, and many of them come from natural sources. Erythritol, for example, is found naturally in fruits and has the advantage of being absorbed in the intestine and then excreted later through urine. So it should not have a laxative effect like the two I mentioned earlier. Stevia, for example, studies on toxicity tend to show that stevia and its isolated compounds are generally safe for human consumption, which is good. Another would be monk fruit extract, which is currently in vogue. Its biochemical properties and health benefits have influenced its use in various food and beverage industries. Therefore, considering the scientific evidence, non-natural artificial sweeteners are acceptable, but in moderation and with measure. If you want to know a little more about suitable natural sweeteners, both caloric and non-caloric, write to us in the comments and we will gladly make a video about them. Okay, let's move on to the second tip. Reduce sugary drinks. And yes, folks, the higher the intake of sugary beverages, the greater the risk of cavities, weight gain, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular problems. Sugary beverages are the primary contributors of added sugars in the Western diet. I will leave it like this. Normally, a 330 milliliter can of any soda or carbonated drink, however you call it, understanding that we drink the whole can and not the indicated portion, because that's usually how it is. We drink the can have close to or on average about 35 grams of added sugar. This is almost equivalent to consuming about 2.5 medium apples or around 3 cups of fresh blueberries or about 2 medium bananas. That said, if the goal is to satisfy a sugar craving, even a baby can find fruit juice to be nutritionally more beneficial. However, it would lack much of the fiber and certain nutrients that are lost during processing. A good strategy that could help them is to prepare a smoothie, for example, a shake. This way, you can mix vegetables, leafy greens, fruits, and seeds to achieve a moderately sweet or sweet flavor with greater nutritional power. I'll share one of my favorite recipes with you here. A mini tip that has worked for me is the 5 Ds. I prefer to never use the word prohibition, especially when associating it with food. For me, it's about adapting and being aware of what the body asks for and knowing how to interpret it through food. I understand that sometimes understanding a sugar craving is not as easy as giving water to the body when you are thirsty. That's why I give you the 5 Ds. So, 1, delay, distract, distance, determine, and decide. When it talks about delaying, wait a few minutes before eating those sweets. Distract yourself, focus on something else, wash the dishes, make yourself a tea, let the washing machine do its job, distance yourself. And this does not mean that you should necessarily stay away from the kitchen, but simply that you should try not to have so many options of foods rich in added sugars. Instead of that, have some slightly healthier options that can, for example, take away your craving. Then determine, think about whether what you want is that specific craving or if you can satisfy that urge with something healthier. And finally, decide. Considering that it postpones an immediate reward, it is a sign of control and gives your life that sense of intentionality rather than just reactivity. That is a true enjoyment of life. And if in that case you didn't succeed or couldn't overcome the craving, there are always other opportunities to try again. The 4th tip is to increase our fiber intake. It is well known that the process of satiety and the craving for sugar is strongly influenced by gastrointestinal hormones that depend on dietary factors. Therefore, an adequate intake of fiber would not only help promote postprandial satiety, but would also have super beneficial endocrine and metabolic effects for us. How much do I need to eat? Both I and many guides indicate that an adequate fiber intake would range from 14 grams for every 1,000 calories. So an average diet of 2,000 kilocalories would have about 28 grams of fiber. Now, I believe that 28 grams is the minimum we should aim to reach daily and that it can certainly be exceeded. And the 5th is to always have options. That's why I'm bringing you 2 super clever recipes that will work for you and are very quick. The first one is date truffles. I'll leave the ingredients here. My family and I love this recipe. I saw it a while ago, and honestly, nothing satisfies my craving for something sweet like this recipe. So it's as easy as cutting the dates in half without completely separating them. They fill it with 1 or 2 almonds or a little bit of almond butter or whatever they have. I close them. Completely cover them with dark chocolate and leave them in the freezer for about 10-15 minutes. And they are ready. The second recipe I brought you is a banana bread that is amazing. Here I leave you the recipe with the ingredients. Basically, it's as easy as preheating the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, mixing the wet ingredients separately from the dry ones, then combining them, placing the mixture in a mold, and baking it in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes, and it's ready. Thank you very much for joining us. See you in the next video. And remember to subscribe to our channel and be part of the Integrative Health School community. Learn to help.